Hey everybody, Nancy here from American Pet Professionals. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to another episode of Digging into the Pet Industry. So, we are airing live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So, wherever you're watching from, thank you so much for watching. And if you're listening to a future podcast episode, thank you so much for listening. Today, I'm excited to bring to you our special guest, Richard Wohlrab. Did I say that right, Richard?
You did.
Okay, good. The VP of International Logistics of Mariner. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you very much for having me, Nancy. Appreciate it.
Richard, I'm so happy to have you on our show. And here at Digging into the Pet Industry, we kind of just dig right in so everybody can get to know you and your background. So tell us about your background and what it is that you do at Mariner.
Sure. So I am VP of International Logistics for Mariner Logistics. I oversee their entire international department from A to Z. So everything that has to do with international, be it sales, operations, management, administration, compliance. Uh, I run the and oversee the entire department.
And don't,
My background,
yeah.
I'm sorry, my background, I'm third generation freight forwarder. So my father and grandfather before me, and I have 28 years of experience. Had to do some quick
Wow.
math there. Yeah, had to do
Wow.
some quick math.
Yeah, so having a family history and then also your own history is really quite impressive. And you and I met at Global Pet Expo earlier this year in March. You came running over. You said, "You're on Long Island, I'm on Long Island." And then we got to talk afterwards. And I was like, holy cow, we have to have this guy on. And in all transparency, we had you on for a fabulous webinar for our members of American Pet Professionals not that long ago. But I
Yeah.
also wanted to bring you on the show because I think you just have so much information and background that other people could also benefit from. So I appreciate your time and for you being here. Can you tell us what Marina actually specializes in when it comes to, the pet industry and your company?
So we're a third party logistics provider. Our job is to look out for our clients' needs, be it their supply chain, financial risk and mitigation, as well as compliance. So it could be anything, especially, obviously with the pet industry, it could be anybody from a new company looking to get into the scope of international logistics and shipping because they're growing and expanding and they can't do it out of their garage anymore.
Right.
So we help them to understand rules, regulations, requirements, compliance. And then again, for existing clients, maybe they're looking to expand their footprint. Maybe they're looking for some new sourcing partners. Maybe they need warehousing and distribution needs. So we assist with all of those things to do with supply chain and logistics and transportation.
Wow, that is a lot, and that's a lot of stuff that, when you're going into the pet industry, especially with the pet products, you may not know all of that. There's a lot of things that are weaving in and out to understand, and that can be scary for a new pet professional that is like, "Yeah, we just want to sell in the local stores," and then they're getting
Exactly.
people saying, "You should be selling this everywhere." So, how did you get started in the pet industry working with pet product companies?
I have a love for pets. I have two rescue dogs of my own,
Love it.
as well as I've grown through the industry and working in business. One of my owners had always brought his dogs into the office, and we always had a love for animals and rescues, and just you see so much bad in the world that it was just a natural fit for us to go out and explore the industry as a whole and see what opportunities there were. And we've had some great experiences and worked with some great companies from small startups to the larger multinational brands.
That's awesome. And what year did you start bringing on more pet companies into what you do? Do you remember?
I'd probably say somewhere 2008, 2010, somewhere
Oh,
in that
okay.
range, we really kind of started to dive in. And that was with a previous company that I was with, kind of expanded into the market and started to say, well, look, if we love animals, we have animals in the office and we all have animals at home. So it was a natural progression and fit into that.
Wow. So you've been at it for quite a while, so you have some experience in the pet industry as well. I love that. So coaching new customers and all of those type of things probably comes like second nature to you at this point.
It's you live and breathe logistics and supply chain.
Yeah.
It's not a 24/7, but it's pretty close.
Right, right. So what is the one like frequently asked question that you get from a newer pet product company in terms of logistics, shipping, and global trade that you always get?
How fast can I get my freight?
Right.
It's always the first, how quick can I get it here? Well, how long
That's
does that take?
right.
And the one thing that I will say that most new startups don't understand is the regulation and the compliance that has to be done. You have to do your diligence. Not just as much effort should go into your supply chain as it goes into the product itself. So
Mm,
you do a ton of R&D and you invest a ton of money in R&D, whether it be a food product or a toy or a clothing product or something of that nature. Um, the same effort, maybe not financial, but the same effort should be put into your supply chain, understanding well in advance what's going to be needed to do the job, how long will it take to get the goods here, what's your lead time. Those are the types of things that a lot of people don't think of. They just go, okay, great. We've tested the product. We think it's great. The people giving us samples, we love the samples. So we're going to go place an order for 40,000 units of whatever it might be. And well, that should only take 4 or 5 days. Well, no, it could be a lot longer than that. And,
yeah.
now costs get involved in time frame and distribution and things of that nature. So it's good to do your homework and a full scope. And I always ask people to engage with me immediately. As soon as you're looking to do something, engage with me. Ask me a question. Get to understanding to, okay, what is it I should be aware of? And at what point in time should we start to really look at this?
Yeah.
That way they're prepared. Better to be overly cautious and prepared than be up against the wall and not have the lead time you thought you did.
Yeah, definitely. So what would be an example of a lead time? Let's say I bring a new product to the market and I want to have my products at Global Pet Expo because I'm going to be a vendor, which is not too far away now, a couple of
Sure.
months in mid-March.
You
Would
have to work, but you have to work backwards. So, okay, what's the drop dead last day to deliver it to the Pet Expo warehouse to set up my booth?
mm,
It's March 1st, just for an easy date example.
yeah,
Okay, well, great. It's a 40-day lead time from China to get my ocean container here. I have to allow at least a 5 to 7 day window for clearance, offloading of the container, the ship, everything else. So now you're at a roughly 50-day lead time, let's just say. Okay, well, great. That's 50 days. Let's make it 60 to protect myself. Give me an extra 10-day cushion because again, we just had luckily a very short, but we had a port strike.
yeah.
That put a 10-day backlog in congestion at the ports after the strike was over.
Mm.
So those are the sorts of things that while you hopefully never have to be prepared for, you should understand that it could be a possibility. So
Well,
those are the types of things that where you have to look at.
yeah, I love that working backwards. I think that applies in so many aspects of your business, rolling out a
Absolutely.
lunch, all the type of things. And it's funny because I didn't prep you with questions, but my next question was about the strike. Um, we didn't prep. So the union strike that happened in early October that you just mentioned, it got extended to January 15th, 2025. Any
Correct.
advice for companies to prepare for that possible upcoming strike?
So right now, the extension to January 15th was a formality while they finalized a few small details.
Okay.
Uh, they would not give us exact information on exactly what the few small details were, but the concessions and agreements on the major points were all finalized and agreed to. Few small details and really legalities now of creating the new contracts, having lawyers proofread them, then having the union representatives and the port representatives confirm everything in that contract and then sign off on it and agree to it. So as of right now, they shouldn't have anything to worry about.
Okay.
If for some reason somebody decides that they want to change that deal or make it a change to it, you should definitely we should hear about that before the end of the year. So that way you can start to make some plans or whether it be hold on a shipment and not move it so it doesn't sit on a vessel too long, or
Mm.
to say, hey, give me some of that product immediately, even if it's via air freight at a higher expense, just to make sure you have some product in hand to be able to fulfill some sort of a purchase order.
Wow, that's great information, especially people that are thinking of that and thinking of upcoming trade shows for 2025.
Absolutely.
Here in the pet industry, we have almost 100 different business conferences, and a lot of them are trade show related, whether it's product or veterinary or dog training. So that's something to definitely think about. Something else that's been a hot button issue that has been in the news is the potential tariff. affecting pet product companies. Do you think that the tariffs will eventually affect, if it's imposed, pet product supply and chain, kind of like COVID?
Yes, yes, 100%. If
Wow.
tariffs are increased or additional tariffs are imposed, it will affect most major brands and major industries throughout.
Wow.
We obviously have not seen any of the details. We've only heard
Right.
what's been on the news related
Yeah.
to the most recent presidential election and what the president-elect's plans are or thoughts are on how to move forward and help to decrease our deficit and increase our revenues as a
Yep.
country.
Yep.
Um, I have a lot of concerns because obviously tariff increases do tend to be inflationary,
Yep.
but I don't know the details, so I don't want to speculate too much more than
Right.
that.
Okay.
I will just say one of the big things we have been involved with and has made a part of our compliance and consulting business for the last several years would be the fact of the help mitigate additional duties and tariffs in any ways possible, as well as help with sourcing of supplies and products and manufacturing. So they're not, I don't want to use the term workarounds, but if you have certain manufacturing partners in certain countries that are more heavily affected by tariffs than others,
Yeah.
we help source other avenues for manufacturing,
Oh,
which is a huge risk mitigation
yeah.
for for increasing of duties and taxes against tariff.
But that is such a great service and that you guys offer, because if somebody is, really
Correct.
upset and knowing it might slow it down getting their products, it's a really great service to contact you about because you guys are the experts in it. Have you seen any companies since that news broke stocking up on materials that they, normally import? Like, if any of your clients have done that since the announcement because they're worried about tariffs on that?
I have several clients that have moved their manufacturing to different countries.
Okay.
They have changed product lines or
Interesting.
are no longer offering certain products or certain variations of products.
Hmm.
Currently, right now, the big tariff issue is what's called the 301 tariffs, which are the additional duties and taxes on goods coming out of China.
Right.
They
Right.
range anywhere between 15 and 20% on average. So most companies, again, companies cannot afford to absorb that.
Right.
So that gets tacked on to the bottom line, what's called landed cost of the goods, which then creates a higher price for us as a consumer,
Yeah.
which is why my earlier comments that usually tariffs are inflationary because
Yeah.
increased costs creates inflation.
All right, well, that's
Um,
that's interesting. Because
yeah, so
I've
it's
seen
a
a
it's a
couple of
tough thing.
posts. Sorry, I've seen a couple of posts of people saying we've been ordering more materials to have it ready. So I thought that was interesting. I was curious if any of your companies.
the the new term is in the last few years is called onshoring,
Hmm.
where you're bringing some manufacturing or some portion of the manufacturing back onto US shores
Yeah.
or into the United States. It's a very hard thing to do because obviously there's a lot of financial obligation involved with either bringing a warehouse up to spec or creating a new manufacturing product line within a facility. But at a 20% increase in duties and taxes, it could be something for the long-term plan of the company to
Yeah.
make them less volatile to those increases in that market.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So let's switch gears. Thank you for answering that, because I was like,
No problem.
I gotta ask which of these questions when we chat because it's really interesting to me. So, what is a simple service that Mariner provides to a small, newer pet product company that needs shipping and distribution?
So for smaller companies, what we do and what we try to do with our warehousing and distribution division is create a custom solution. What's the end goal of the company? What are
Hmm.
you looking to achieve from the partnership? In 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, 6 months, 1 year. What are your goals and plans for what we're looking to do here and what we're discussing? Because I can't make A, B, C options and hope that they fit every company. I
Right.
need to be able to sit down and say, okay, well, what are your goals? Because our product that we're offering in our warehousing and distribution facilities are very customizable. We have a great warehouse management system that works with all different variations of purchase orders or product lines or lots. Our facilities themselves are very much open, airy spaces, so we can create different avenues, as we call them, or different lanes for different products. We have flexibility in terms of, different just solutions to be able to bring into that facility to make it meet their needs.
I love that. And you guys offer basically kind of a drop shipping service as well, correct?
We have a full e-commerce capability, pick and pack out of our facilities. We have 3 different locations in the Dallas area. Currently, we are expanding our footprint throughout the country over the next 3 years with facilities on both East and West Coast as well to complement that.
Cool. I love it. So, have there been any hurdles when it comes to working with a pet product company, working with more pet product companies? You're right.
It goes back to our first part topic of conversation is the regulations.
Yeah.
Companies not understanding that FDA could be involved because they make a dog treat or they make something that is a digestible, as we call it.
Mm,
Anything digestible or consumed by a person or an animal is going to go through additional government acronymed agencies, and they're going to have to prove their supply chain. So one of the big programs for importers is called CTPAT. It's the Partnership with US Customs for Terrorism. And you're basically opening your supply chain to US Customs. By doing so, you also get benefits, which is fewer examinations or inspections by US Customs, a greater flexibility, greater leverage to have your goods in a quicker turnaround from an inspection if necessary. So there's a lot of benefits to that. But again, the clients don't understand that regulations and rules are there for a reason.
right.
And again, it goes right back to that same theory of be be educated in advance.
Mm.
Know what you're getting into, know what know what avenues or what direction you want to go in, and then let's do that homework together to help create a good supply chain and a good logistics plan for your company.
How long does it normally take? Say a new pet product company is coming to you and is like, Richard, I need to understand all this. I'm totally green to it. Like, how long do you guys normally take onboarding a new client so that they understand all the work that you're doing on the back end?
Each client is different because again, the commodity will dictate different steps that have to be taken. So if you're doing a dog toy, it could be a much quicker turnaround and
Mm.
onboarding process. We can onboard clients within our system in a week.
Okay.
The education side of it and the regulatory and compliance side of it could take a few weeks. It could take a couple of days. It depends on how much time they have to dedicate in a given day or in a given week, that we can set that aside to work together to bring them up to speed or bring their team up to speed. And then again, just brainstorm together and work through the process. Okay, here's the products you're looking to import. Here's what you're looking to achieve out of this goal. Now let's create the solution together and work together to make sure that everything is up to par.
I love it. So they're hiring you and they're getting the full education about distribution, all of the things, because
Yes.
that is, like I've said before, that is something that I've been asked that so many times over the years. And I'm like, that is not my area of expertise. I know a little bit about it, but not enough, So
That old adage of, you know enough just to be dangerous sometimes.
no, I don't give that
So
advice. I'm like, let me
it's
find somebody for you.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
that's one of the services we offer where we differentiate ourselves from others, where we
Yeah.
can offer you the forwarding and transportation and logistics side of the business.
Mhm.
And we're happy to do that on a day in and day out basis. That's where we all started. That's where
Yeah.
this evolved from, is just moving the freight for our clients.
Right.
Um, the training and education, though, is something that's a much bigger piece of the puzzle that people don't realize, and
Yeah.
that's a service that we offer in and to itself as a standalone product. So you can come to us and keep us on retainer, and you can say, "Hey, bill me for 10 hours of your time," and then that company has the ability to tap into our resources and our expertise whenever they need.
I love it.
Clients that we're working with and moving freight for, they have the luxury of getting that as a perk. That's a
Yeah.
value added service we give to them. You're a client of ours already. We're helping you move your freight. So we're going to continually educate you on the latest and greatest information, because an educated client only makes our lives easier.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, because if they know, then they're not hounding you and saying, pun intended, by the way, how
No,
they
no,
do and saying,
good one.
like, what's going on? Where's the freight? All the things, and they know up
Right.
front, like this is how it's working. It definitely makes everybody's life easier, yourself and your client. Has there anything been difficult or hard about working in your industry?
Yes, everything. No, it becomes the politics,
Yeah,
the politics, the regulation.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
A different administration will want to point in a different direction.
Hmm.
So it's just staying on top of the rules and the
Yep,
technology and the ever things have changed. Things
yeah,
change on a year to year basis.
yep.
Things change every 5 years, every 10 years. So I have to make sure to remind myself to that I don't know everything.
Right.
I know a whole lot about a whole little kind of, or a whole little about a whole lot, I should say,
Yeah.
excuse me. So, continuing to educate myself, continuing to learn, keeping my eyes open and my ears open because, new technologies come out that make life easier.
Right.
And, it's just really staying on top of it.
Yeah, stuff that was maybe not automated 10, 15 years ago that's now automated makes a lot easier in certain respects. Even if it's just something as easy as onboarding somebody, you have, different things that you can do. So what about it has been the most rewarding to you?
When you can see the effective change that you've had in a positive manner, whether it be the pet industry, we also have a very big division in the humanitarian aid sector as well, so
Oh,
relief
wow.
goods. So when we can help people in a devastated area, whether it be earthquakes in the Caribbean or hurricane relief, when you can see the positive effect you have in a situation is really the biggest joy that I can get out of it. And again, same thing even on the pet industry side. If you're working with some rescue organizations or things
Yeah.
of that nature, where you can just see positive change or positive effects from the work that you've done or how you've been able to help a company. Those are the rewarding things because a lot of times it's missed, especially with the advancements in technology.
Yeah.
There's less personal interaction.
Mhm.
So when you can see that firsthand, those positive things, that's always a great deal.
I love that. That's so great. I didn't even think about the animal rescues, and I didn't know that you did that with the humanitarian side. So that's really great.
Absolutely.
What besides that, what defines success for you?
Same answer.
Yeah. Okay.
Same answer. I'm fortunate enough to love what I do.
Yeah.
Third generation. This is not what I went to school for. Um, but as soon as I got into the business, it never slowed down for me. I
Right.
realized that it is in the blood and it's something I really enjoy to do. And that's a bonus because there's a lot of people out there that have a job, not and they're not happy. And I am lucky enough that I can come to work every day. I look forward to coming to work every day, and love what I do. There are good times and bad times like any industry,
Yep.
but what we do, whether it be with the pet industry, with humanitarian aid, with oversized machinery and equipment that are part of, it's just always something different and something new, and that's just a lot of fun, especially when you're dealing in a global landscape.
I love that. And have you ever had the experience of a pet product company that you worked with like from the beginning and then you happen to go into like a big store or mom and pop store and see that product there and be like, I worked with them. Has that
Oh,
ever happened to you?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
all the time where there's nothing better than when I'm doing something or driving somewhere and I'm with my family and I can kind of point to it and say,
Yeah,
"Hey, see that right there? I did that." Or we
yeah.
put that on that shelf in that regard.
I love that.
So yeah, things like that are a lot of
Yeah.
fun. It kind of brings it to reality especially for my children where they're like, "Wait, what's that?" I said, "No, you see that truck? That's one of our trucks.
Oh, that's
Look at
cool.
look at the business card. Look at the truck."
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
things like that are a lot of fun where you can put real life to it, especially when traveling and,
Mhm.
having the know-how or having friends within the industry. So it's a lot of fun in that way.
Is there anything or any other piece of advice that I didn't ask you about that you'd like to give to somebody that's up and coming, thinking about launching a product? Any typical advice that you'd normally give?
I would again go back to our first part of the conversation
Yeah.
where educate yourself, write the questions down that you have, keep a notebook by you so that way, as something pops up in the middle of the night, even you can kind of jot it down and really be prepared and do your diligence well in advance. Don't anticipate or expect based on a Google search to have the right answers.
Right.
The internet is a fantastic place, and it's also a very dangerous place
Right.
of misinformation.
Yep.
So it's better to educate yourself, whether it be with one solid source that you trust or multiple sources that if you get two or three different, slightly different answers, you can kind of look in the middle and get a perspective of what you're looking for.
Right. Interesting. That's cool. Well, thank you so much for that because it is true. I'm with you on that 100%. I'm always like, don't just rely on the first page of Google. Go deep, go down the rabbit hole, you know?
Yeah, good and bad. Sometimes going down that rabbit
I
hole, but
know, but sometimes
it
you'll,
is really important. It's
yeah,
really important, especially the newer
yep,
companies. I've been working now with several different newer. I don't want to call them startups, but they're going into phase two, as we
yeah,
like to say. Phase one is that startup, work out of your home, have a small little manufacturing thing, do a lot of the work yourself, to now understanding that there's going to be a financial investment that has to be made to go to the next step,
right.
whether it be a distribution facility because you can't do it out of your garage anymore and you need to have a few people doing this for you. There's an added cost to that that affects
Yeah,
your bottom line as a company. And as a newer company, we understand that that is a hard thing to understand, but come to us and let us be your partners in supply chain and let us explain to you why this is good and why in 6 months or a year this added cost you have now will mitigate itself because you're able to produce so much more, you're able to output so much more product based on that investment you made in, whether it be a distribution facility
yeah.
or maybe adding on one or two outside staff in a consultant type contract basis to help you with that manual physical work that has to get done.
It's so true because that is always a hard thing for smaller pet companies, even mid-size, like making that investment, taking the next step, but you can't always do all of it on your own, right? So that's something that I feel like a lot of pet companies either take it and run with it,
Sure.
or they don't and they don't grow as fast. So,
I had this conversation last week where the
yeah,
company was really looking to do a e-commerce pick and pack distribution setup because they're getting to a point now where they don't have room to store the
right.
amount of goods that they need to have on hand when the orders become available to ship. And then the time to do that work themselves, box it, label it, bring it to the
Yeah,
UPS or FedEx store or the post office to send out. And it was a very hard conversation because you're spending their money,
yeah,
but to explain to them that this expense now adds to a greater prosperous time for the company as a whole in 6 months to a year or 2 years, depending on that time frame, it is, again, just being very clear with that information and showing them the supporting data of why it's a good investment to make now, even though it's harder to write that check sometimes.
it is. And when you hear those stories of like, back in the day, it was the Oprah effect, right? When it
That's
was
right.
Oprah's favorite things. Now maybe it's a TikTok video or
Yep.
reels that went viral and they're selling like crazy and they can't keep up with the demand. And, then you say, please be patient. And that could get upset because we are in a society that we getting stuff delivered within an hour. So,
Instant gratification is a
yeah.
huge problem now,
Hmm. I
especially
agree.
when a trend goes viral,
Yeah.
or if somebody on social media happens to pick something up.
Right.
And that's exactly the conversations that we had to
Yeah.
explain to them to say, look, you're at a situation now where you're not taking orders because you don't have the space for your
Yeah.
supplies to then fulfill the order.
Right.
That means you need more room.
Yeah.
If you have too many orders, that's a good and bad thing.
Yeah.
If especially it's bad because you can't fulfill them.
It's the problem you wanna have, but you don't wanna be able to not fulfill it. You wanna be,
Absolutely right.
hearing that if you're using, one of the online cha-ching, 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 come in and it's
Yes,
knowing that
yes,
it's going out and that you're not stressing out about like, "Oh my gosh, now I have to go and pack all these orders." So, it is a
yeah.
hard balance. I get it when you're a smaller company or you're just starting out, but, it is a good problem to have, but I think that's really great that you're having those conversations because making those expenditures are tough for some people and it's totally understandable. So,
And this day and age, again, with technology and advancements and the internet as a whole,
yeah.
it's much easier for the consumer to price check.
Yep.
Well, this isn't exactly the same thing, but it's $5 cheaper. So let me
Mhm.
try this first.
Yeah.
Well, that first might not be a great product. And then that consumer has a bad taste for that product as a whole and might not give your product a chance at the $5 higher price point. So we
Right.
understand it. It's a very dollars and cents business everybody is in.
Yep.
There is, again, with regulation, with port strike, with tariff concerns, there is some more storing and warehousing going on with companies, which again adds to bottom line, adds to fight to fiscal responsibility as a
Yep.
company. And those are things that they have to consider as well to say, well, maybe we don't do the expansion at the level we wanted to, but we're going to do a 50% expansion and then do a storage program with the difference to protect ourselves in case there's a port strike. In case there's an increase
Yeah.
in tariffs, maybe we can get a 6-month lead on the competition because we have goods in-house in
Hmm.
stock. So
Yeah.
those are the types of situations.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I love all those points. I give anybody that has a pet product or launching a pet product so much credit because it is not easy.
No,
We
no.
have a lot of customers. We have a lot of members that, in the last few years had launched products during COVID and where their shipment was sitting on a ship in the
Yeah.
sea waiting for their stuff to come in. And, so that was a really difficult time, and just like the nuances of certain things. So I give everybody that is launching a product so much credit because it's not easy.
And another thing for people to be aware of is the customs regulation called the de minimis rule, where any goods coming into the country under a certain dollar value were free of duties and taxes, and we're not required to have what's called a formal customs clearance or entry process.
Hmm.
And they are now in the midst of reviewing that de minimis rule and changing the value because customs realized that when they raised the ceiling or cap of that value a few years ago, there's a lot of revenues lost in duties and taxes, and the
Mm.
on the wearing apparel side, the
Yeah.
Temu and the Sheens of
Oh,
the
yeah.
world
Hmm.
have taken massive advantage of. So the
Interesting.
pet industry also has the ability to take advantage of that same regulation. But if they are, please be aware to just keep on top of it because the de minimis values will be changing with within U.S. Customs.
Right, or contact you.
Absolutely, anytime. Everybody that is listening to this, whether it be live or later in a podcast, is free to pick my brain of whatever's left at any time they would like.
I love that, I love that. So, Richard, where can people connect with you here that are watching or listening?
They can find me we through our website, marinerlogistics.com. You can email me. I'm sure Nancy will put out my information and have it for
Yep,
everybody. Feel free to please email or call and reach out. I'd love to set up some time to chat with you, work through your supply chain logistics needs, or even your compliance and consulting requirements that you have some concerns based on what we've brought up here in conversation.
that's great. I will put all those information in the comments on each platform. So if you guys are watching on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, you can contact Richard. We have spoken so much about this over the last 6 months that I feel more well informed, but I'm still going to direct people to you because, again, it's not my area of
Please,
expertise. But
I
I've
love to
learned
get the
so
information out.
Yeah, I've learned so much from you. So thank you so much for being on today. And for anybody that is looking for help, definitely contact Richard because he will set you in the right direction. But Richard, I really appreciate your time and for coming on the show and letting everybody know a little bit about what's going on in the world that you work in.
Appreciate it, Nancy. I love the time. It's a great conversation. I'm happy to join anytime to help our friends in the pet industry. And again, I look forward to working with you and with anybody else that might need some assistance. That's what we're here for.
All right, sounds good. And will we see you at Global next year?
If not myself, you will see some of my partners there for sure,
Right,
and
right.
also at Zuzu as well.
Super Zoo.
Super Zoo. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
All right,
that was the
sounds
other one
good.
that was on the calendar as well.
All right, cool. So we'll definitely be able to reach out to you at either of those shows. I think setting up an appointment with you guys would be really great for people on the show floor. So, all
That'd be
right.
great.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Thanks again, Richard. I'll talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
Nancy.
All right.
Great to talk to
Bye.
you. Bye bye.